at the forefront of politics.
Our enemy is Trump. He is the enemy. We gotta unite. If we're not a united party, we lose to Trump.
On the front lines of activism.
There's certain fights, if we don't engage, they win. This is a fundamental question of who we are.
And delivering your daily dose of comedy.
Donald Trump, when he had his physical, they had his blood pressure, and mine is higher than his. Oh. And the irony is mine is higher because of him.
From the blue wave.
We flipped. Enough seats to take control of the House. We control the House.
To 2020 and beyond. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters. It's Thursday, August 29th. I'm Dean Obeidallah, your Muslim MBFF. At least I'm hoping to be on Twitter. As you know, Facebook.com/Dean of Radio. I got to change the open of the show. Because in that open, and it was completely true at the time, I said Donald Trump's blood pressure is higher than mine. Mine was higher than his. And I was not even joking. That was true, and it was because of him. I had my physical today. My blood pressure has gone down. I am so happy, so it's gone down. Because I've been running more and not eating as much salt. Just share that with everyone. Why not? So I got to change the open. My blood pressure is no longer higher than Trump's. Thank God. I am far younger. I should not. It was all him. He was stressing me. He's aging the crap out of me. But I found some peace and solace just running a lot more on the treadmill, getting the heart rate up, eating better, no fried foods and stuff like that. And in 7-8 months, it brought it down. So that's a story. If anyone wants to say, I don't want to take blood pressure pills, you can change your blood pressure with behavior. That's what my doctor said, and I'm sharing. It's absolutely true. It takes like 6-7 months, but it does it. It did it. So today's the last day of our show before Labor Day weekend. Tomorrow will be a repeat because we're not going on vacation. Me and Matt are going to Houston, Texas together. That's right. We're going to Houston to the big Muslim convention, the Islamic Society of North America. It's called ISNA. It's think NAACP, but Muslims. And thousands. This is like Donald Trump's worst nightmare come to light right there. It's going to be all Muslims from all over the country. We're going to go there, and they're having a presidential forum, and Bernie Sanders and Julian Castro are supposed to speak. If all goes well, we will interview them. But I do want to mention something here, and I wrote about it for the Daily Beast today. And they invited 10, the top 10 Democratic 2020 candidates to come speak. And this is based on polling a few months ago. And the guy who did the reaching out is pretty well connected politically. He had served in the Obama administration, knows a lot of people. And could only get 2 out of the 10. And a couple others did offer to send a videotape, but they wanted them to show up. And they're in Texas here. And so we're really appreciative of the 2 that are coming. But I got to be honest with you, it is disappointing that no one else came, that only 2 came there. And I say that for a few reasons. I say that one, we'll put aside political reason why, the human reason why. Donald Trump has made the Muslims of this country his go-to punching bag, place to gin up fear and give red meat to his base, plus immigrants. Those are the 2 he does. And a lot of times it intertwines the 2, obviously, with Muslims being immigrants as well. But there's a lot about Hispanics and about Muslims from 2016, from Islam hates us to a total, complete shutdown of Muslims. We all know about that. And right through, continuing on with this mini Muslim ban of a handful of Muslim countries, but it's still been very difficult for Muslim Americans who've got families like in Yemen or in Libya, where they can't come here and they're banned simply because they live in that country. We have the vetting. We could take care of it, but they don't want to do it. It's red meat to the base. That's all it is. To, of course, recently, Donald Trump going after Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib over and over and over again. And I just want to make the point. The reason Trump is not doing the full-blown anti-Muslim garbage of 2016 is because, this is my theory, but I'm pretty confident I'm right. In 2016, he was a candidate. He could say, I want a total complete shutdown on Muslims. Islam hates us and all this garbage. Now in the White House, he needs the support of Saudi Arabia and Egypt, which are Muslim countries, to go after Iran. If he ever is going to get the war he wants against Iran, or at least more boycotts and sanctions, he needs Muslim countries to go after another Muslim country, but he needs these other ones. So instead of going after all Muslims, he's gone after Rashida and Ilhan a lot, saying things like send her back, of course, which every Muslim in this country has heard. Even those like me born here. We've all heard this from the bigots. That's their go-to. It's the stupid answer of the stupid bigot who's got nothing insightful to say. Go back to where you're from. And so On that level, I wish they were more would have come to show that they're standing with us, that Donald Trump's demonization of our community is not leaving us alone. They're going to be there. They're going to speak to our community and make it clear they stand with us the same way they should stand with every community who's under siege by Donald Trump. But there's another reason, political reason. First of all, in the 2016 election, does anybody know the religious faith group that voted the most for Democrats in 2016 on a percentage basis? The number one group were Muslims, 76%, followed by Jewish Americans, about 71%. And then Christians obviously are such a big group, they're divided, and evangelicals broke for Donald Trump, at least white ones did. So you've got Muslims voting for Democrats in huge numbers and running for office as Democrats. I mean, right now there are 3 Muslims in Congress, the most ever, with the other one being from Indiana. It's not talked about one. Andre Carson is kind of quiet and all. He's been there for years. And you've got on local elected officials, Muslims from county to local to not governor yet, but statewide. We had the first Muslim win in a statewide election. Keith Ellison won 2018 for Attorney General of the state of Minnesota. And so we're getting there. We're getting more involved. We're growing as a community. According to Pew, by 2040, Muslims will be the second biggest faith group in America, way behind Christians, and slightly eclipsing Jewish Americans if the same birth rates continue here. But the reason they should have been there, forget all of that. They didn't care about any of that. The hardball political reason of coming to this Muslim convention where there's Muslims from around the country, it's in Texas, but from all over the country that are in key early Democratic primary states, they are overrepresented Muslims in certain states. Michigan, it's the week after Super Tuesday. We have a big community there. You've got Texas, big Muslim population now growing there. You've got Illinois, because of Chicago and the suburbs. These are all early states. Virginia is in Super Tuesday. It's got about 90 delegates. It's about the third richest on Super Tuesday. The Muslim community in Northern Virginia is tremendous, and they're also well-connected and well-funded. A lot of them are doctors, lawyers, engineers, lobbyists, business owners. So you've got all these states. Ohio, there's a growing Muslim community. These are all key Democratic battleground states. I'm not saying the Muslims hold the key to victory, but they are a growing component. We've become more active in politics. We're giving money to campaigns. So coming to this convention for a half-hour talk and leaving would meant so much to the community. But again, everyone there, and I put in my article, are thrilled that Bernie Sanders and Julian Castro are coming. And it's the first time ISNA has ever tried to do a presidential forum. And they're non-political. In fact, there's a Trump administration official, Sam Brownback, used to be governor of Kansas. He's now the ambassador for religious freedom. He'll be there on a panel on interfaith because while it's a Muslim-centric convention, there are many interfaith activities going on with Jewish and Christian leaders there as well. So you've got, it's unfortunate that more didn't come. And what's really interesting is that Iowa has it's not a big Muslim population. It's a pretty white state. But do you know what the state is that had the first mosque in America built? Anyone guess? You're probably wrong unless you guessed Iowa. Iowa was the first state to have a mosque. So there's been a Muslim population there that has been institutionalized with a mosque for decades. But still they're not coming. And here's a subtle thing that's completely lost in all of this. Because the third primary state is South Carolina. 60% of the Democrats in South Carolina are African American. The biggest component of the Muslim American community is African American Muslims. Anywhere from 20 to 30% of our community is African American. It's all estimates. Pew did a study. They say around 20%. Other Muslim groups say more like 30%. In any event, that means of that 60% of black voters in South Carolina who are Democrats, a pretty decent percentage are going to be Muslim. It's going to be more than a handful. So again, by coming to this event, you would have met Muslims who are African American from South Carolina. I've been to South Carolina. I've met African American Muslim leaders there. They're vibrant. They're very involved in communities. And just like every minority community, I feel like we all feel taken for granted in this two-party system. I've talked to countless African Americans who've called up and talked about Democrats take them for granted. And it's because we're kind of beholden. If you're a Muslim now, if you join Trump's GOP, you will be so ostracized from our community. You will be viewed as a traitor to our community after what Trump has done. It's not like normal times. There was a time in 2000, most Muslim Americans voted for George Bush. And George Herbert Walker Bush in 1988 got a lot of Muslims voting for him. And we were a much smaller community. But in 2000, famously, Muslims broke for George W. Bush. It was after Bush and the Iraq War, which since then there's been a realignment of the Muslim community, overwhelmingly becoming Democrats here. Because we know we're not welcome in the GOP, and especially under Donald Trump, we're not welcome. So if all goes well, me and Matt will be there on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, interviewing a lot of people. We'll play some of the interviews when we come back the following week. And Bernie Sanders and Julian Castro, looking forward to chatting with both of them and many other Muslim American leaders from around the country and sharing with you the issues of concern to them. And I think you'll hear a lot of overlap, regardless what minority community you're in. And even if you're not a minority community, overlap on fundamental issues that are of concern. But there's something else I want to talk about beyond my community, because it's not just about me, but this is probably the only place in the media that's going to cover that story. And it's because I wrote about it and because I have a radio show. And if I didn't have either, no one would be covering it, because that's the world of being Muslim in our media. We just barely register anywhere. Though I want to talk about something that transcends my community. It's important to all of our communities. That Donald Trump and his media minions are now going full white supremacy as a 2020 campaign heats up. Two new developments in the last 24 hours that make this very, very clear. Now, at first, we all remember in this election cycle, you had Tucker Carlson a short time after the El Paso terrorist attack by a white supremacist, a man who walked into a mall, drove 10 hours, walked into a mall in El Paso to kill Mexicans, as he told the police, killed 22 people. He did it mimicking and parodying the words of Donald Trump. It's an invasion of our country. And Tucker Carlson goes on TV, and this was all to defend Trump. He says white supremacy is a hoax. Let's hear clip number one, please.
As part of their relentless bid to divide this country, Democrats have been warning about white supremacy relentlessly. After the El Paso shooting, the left demanded that President Trump denounce a supposedly existential threat to our nation.
White supremacists being radicalized, and when the leader of the free world can't condemn that.
We need to hear from that person strongly condemning and rebuking this ideology.
It's the arsonist coming and saying they want to help put out the fire.
But the whole thing is a lie. If you were to assemble a list, a hierarchy of concerns, of problems this country faces, where would white supremacy be on the list? Right up there with Russia, probably. It's actually not a real problem in America. The combined membership of every white supremacist organization in this country, would they be able to fit inside a college football stadium? I mean, seriously. This is a country where the average person is getting poorer, where the suicide rate is spiking. White supremacy, that's the problem. This is a hoax. Just like the Russia hoax. It's a conspiracy theory used to divide the country and keep a hold on power.
So that was Tucker Carlson trying to gaslight America to help Donald Trump, his beloved Trump, telling us, hey, if Trump isn't denouncing white supremacy that much, it's because it's not really a problem. Don't listen to the left-wing media. It's not a problem, Fox viewers. There's really no such thing as the Klan and white supremacists. And the 22 people killed in El Paso is some fiction that was created by the left. It's fake. But today, something happened with Jeanine Pirro on Fox Radio, which took it to a whole nother level. And something Donald Trump did last night, which again took it to a new level, making it very clear that white supremacy and embracing it openly and parroting the words of white supremacists is going to be their campaign slogan. And I knew that was going to happen because if the economy begins to slide, folks, what else can he give his base? Think about it. A good economy, he can go to them and he sprinkles in his racism and his bigotry, but says, I gave you a great economy. You take the base out, all he's got, folks, I'm not kidding. This is not hyperbolic. Think about it, just hardball politics. If all he has is no more of the economy, if all he's got left for him is to use racism and bigotry and divide Americans and gin up hate. So today, Jeanine Pirro talked about white people being replaced by brown people. And that was the goal of the Democrats, she said. And I'll play her clip. But before I play her clip, I want to give you a little primer on white supremacy and why what she said comes right out of the white supremacist playbook. And it's by design. There's no doubt Jeanine Pirro is part of the Trump white supremacy minions out there who are helping her, just like Laura Ingraham. What she's talking about, and I'll play the clip, but I want to explain it first. She's talking about the Great Replacement Theory. The Great Replacement Theory is a white supremacist long-term meme they've put out there. It's the idea of a white genocide, that the white race will be overrun, overtaken, and killed off or imprisoned, enslaved by brown people. And this comes right from the idea of a thing called the Turner Diaries. The Turner Diaries was a racist novel published in 1978 by a neo-Nazi, William Luther Pierce. And he wrote under a pen name Andrew MacDonald. And in his book, talked about a dystopian America where white people have become disarmed and oppressed by non-whites. And this is this idea of the Great Replacement Theory and the white genocide. These are the iterations have come from that, from this Turner Diary, from white supremacy and neo-Nazis, that they are going to be replaced. The fear is being replaced. That's why at Charlottesville, remember Donald Trump fined people on both sides? This is why at Charlottesville you heard, let's just jump clip number 3, please.
You will not replace us! You will not replace us! You will not replace us! You will not replace us!
That's the Great Replacement Theory. That is the Great Replacement Theory. That is white genocide. That's what that's about. You're not going to replace us white people with brown people. That's the idea. In fact, and then of course they chanted clip number 4, and I'll explain this.
Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us! Jews will not.
And the reason they're doing that, not that Jews are going to come take their jobs or move to America from other countries, that in their view, in the Turner Diaries and the other white supremacist literature, the Jewish cabal, Jewish people with power are going to do this. They're going to bring in these brown people to replace white culture. And that's why when you see them on the right use the term George Soros is not the human name of a guy who happens to be wealthy. He's a wealthy Jewish guy. That is code for them, that this Jewish cabal is trying to overpower white people. Anytime you hear someone on the right say George Soros, you know what they're talking about. It's not George Soros the man. It is coded language for their base that Jewish people with power want to take over the country, put in who they want, and replace these crappy white people. That's their view. I'm adding the crappy. So here's Jeanine Pirro. Think about all that. Replacement. And some people want to replace us. That is the Nazi white supremacist view of what powerful Jews want to do and anyone with power on the left. And here's Jeanine Pirro today embracing that all, setting it forth on Fox News Radio. Here's clip number 2.
I've often wondered, who do they hate more? Do they hate Donald Trump or do they hate the people who put him into office?
Well, they hate Donald Trump. He's the one they want to get rid of because the people like you and me who put him into office, their plan and their plot to remake America is to bring in the illegals, change the way the voting occurs in this country, give them licenses. They get to vote maybe once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times. And, you've got motor voter registration on the day of the election. We've got voter rolls that haven't been purged of dead people in years, where the Democrats have resisted that. Think about it. It is a plot to remake America, to replace American citizens with illegals who will vote for the Democrats.
There it is. Replace Americans with illegals. That is exactly, here's clip number 3 to remind you, here's a less radio-friendly way of saying what she just said. Clip 3.
You will not replace us! You will not replace us! You will not replace us!
That is what Jeanine Pirro is saying. She is saying that Democrats want to replace white people with illegals, with brown people. This is what they chanted in Charlottesville. This is what neo-Nazis and white supremacists have been writing about for decades. And now Jeanine Pirro has brought it to the mainstream with very little pushback today. And partly the reason there is some pushback, but not a lot. The reason there's not is that not everyone in the media has dealt with what I've dealt with, so I've become knowledgeable about white supremacists are about. I've become knowledgeable about their literature and their coded language. And next week, I'm hoping we're going to have on 1 or 2 experts on white supremacy, including one who was a former white supremacist, to talk about this more. So that was that. Yeah, Jeanine Pirro. What else happened? Last night, Donald Trump released on Twitter a video made by some independent person. It's not like he didn't retweet it. And if you're not on Twitter, retweeting, you press a button, just retweets. He actually got this video, uploaded it onto his account, and shared it saying, thank you. And on the video, and I'll play a little bit of it, I'm playing it for the music for you. Over the words on the video are like, Donald Trump, unemployment down, and crime down, and all that stuff. I want to play about 15 seconds of the music, and I want you to listen carefully to this music. And think about, have you ever heard music like this for a presidential candidate's commercial ever before? Seriously. I know it's subtle. And I'll clear up why it's beyond subtle after in a second. But let's listen to a little bit. Here's clip number 5 from Trump's campaign video he released last night that he posted. Is that odd? Odd music for a campaign video? That's white supremacist music. That's that's right out of the world of white supremacy. And now they've taken that on YouTube. I've seen these before because I had to write about it. This is what it sounds like. That is not something in a campaign video. That is white supremacist music. It's a boutique music industry. And if you're doubting me that this is about white supremacy, at the end of the video, there was a logo. And the logo was a vote Trump and Pence, and it was a logo of a lion. And on there, and some people, and I didn't know the image, but some did. And they go, that's curious. I've seen that image. And they went and researched, some reporters. And they found out that image of the lion, and then the guys who like Trump just put Trump and Pence on it, the lion image, and it's very specific, the exact image, not an image of a lion, this exact image, which is not a real lion. It was hand-drawn, it was graphics. It comes from VDARE. VDARE is a hate group. Southern Poverty Law Center has designated them a hate group for their white supremacist, anti-immigrant views. The head of it, Peter Brimlow, is a piece of garbage. Loves Trump. Loved when Trump talked about Mexican sitting rapists. I'm going to read what he said. This is vile and despicable, but I want you to know the kind of person. He said Hispanics do specialize in rape, particularly of children. They are very prone to it compared to other things. That is the organization that made that logo of the lion that this guy that Trump shared with everyone on his account had put in his video. Made by a hate group. Played with music underneath that is white supremacist angry music. That's not a normal campaign ad. And Donald Trump shared it. And so when there was pushback on that, not as much Jeanine Pirro, there was some pushback today. Donald Trump's campaign responded. Here was their response. The president shared an independently produced video that highlight the strengths of the economy his policies have created. Any conspiracy connected to white supremacy exists only in the fevered minds of reporters who will believe anything negative about the president. The fevered minds. See, it is us. That's gaslighting. It's us. We have fevered minds. Even though that music clearly is from white supremacy medleys of garbage, even though the image itself is from VDARE, a white supremacist hate group, we have fevered minds that connect them. I guess we had fevered minds when Donald Trump, remember when he had a chance to denounce David Duke during the campaign by Jake Tapper and asked this? I guess this was more of my delusions from my fevered mind. Let's hear clip number 6.
KKK Grand Wizard David Duke, who recently said that voting against you at this point would be treason to your heritage. Will you unequivocally condemn David Duke and say that you don't want his vote or that of other white supremacists in this election?
Well, just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay? I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know, did he endorse me or what's going on? Because, you know, I know nothing about David Duke. I know nothing about white supremacists. And so you're asking me a question that I'm supposed to be talking about people that I know nothing about.
You know, right around that same time, Donald Trump tweeted out on Twitter back in 2016, it is better to live one day as a lion than 100 years as a sheep. That was a Benito Mussolini quote. Donald Trump has done everything he can to get the support of these people. But we have the fevered minds. We have a fevered mind because Donald Trump retweeted during the campaign numerous white supremacists, including one with the name white genocide, folks, which is the great replacement theory, which is exactly what they told. So we are fevered minds for that. I have fevered mind, apparently, because in 2017, I wrote an article slamming Trump's refusal to denounce white supremacy, and Andrew Anglin and white supremacists and neo-Nazis who love him wanted to kill me. And I had to sue them in federal court. I guess that was my fevered mind. I guess it was my fevered mind and all of our fevered minds that Donald Trump refused to denounce white supremacists when given an opportunity on numerous times, and then equated those fighting white supremacists with those who were furthering it at Charlottesville. I guess our fevered minds is that Donald Trump supports and defended Confederate statues. That's all us. We made this up. This is what we're seeing in front of us, my friends. Trump and his base might be fine with it, but a poll about a week ago came out. 57% of Americans, almost 60%, say Trump is a white supremacist or emboldens white supremacy. This is a reputable poll. This is unreal. So almost 60% of Americans believe Trump is either a white supremacist or emboldens them. So his campaign can call us fevered minds. This is what's going on. And you know what's scarier? It's going to get worse as the economy slows. And that's the reality. So hang on, my friends. It's going to get uglier, and his media minions are going to help him out. Jeanine Pirro, Tucker Klansman. Hannity doesn't do as much. He does stuff with conspiracy. He doesn't do white supremacy. And I give him, you shouldn't really give anyone credit for not doing white supremacy. So he's just not doing that. And Laura Ingraham, of course, uses that. And Fox and White Friends does what they can to gaslight on that issue. This is where we are as a country, folks. August 29th, 2019, Donald Trump's one of his biggest media supporters is literally parodying a white genocide, great replacement theory on national radio on Fox News, and there's no big pushback. And Trump last night tweets out a video which has white supremacists, made by white supremacists, which is white supremacist imagery with white supremacist music underneath it, and it's just another day in America. This should not be happening. And the only answer is defeating Trump. You know, later we have Michael Steele on the show, former RNC chair, and I look forward to chatting with him. And what I want to put out there for everyone, what's your reaction to this is fine. But here's the thing. We're going to defeat Donald Trump. There's no doubt. We are going to defeat Donald Trump. We're all going to work really hard. We're going to win. The thing is, after that, how do we defeat a movement? And that's my big question. How do we defeat a movement? Because Trumpism is a movement. There are young Republicans, which I'll talk about with Michael Steele here in New York, who in 2016 rejected Donald Trump. Now, 2019, they're embracing even having white nationalists speak at their events. This is reputable New York young Republicans. They even had on their Facebook and Twitter account a guy with the leaders of the group doing the white supremacist hand gesture, which everyone just posted 2 weeks ago. Everyone knows what that is now. It's a movement. It's not just Trump. How do we defeat the movement of Donald Trump is my question, of Trumpism when he's over? Because we're going to crush him. We really are. I'm not saying that to make you feel better. I'm telling you this because the best case scenario for Trump, he can lose by 5 million votes and still win the Electoral College. That's what they're saying in studies that came out. We won 2018, the midterm election. The margin of victory for Democrats versus a Republican on a national level, 10 million votes. He can't beat that. He can't. We're going to come out. We're going to win big. How do we defeat the movement of Trumpism is my question for everyone. Give me a call. You're my guest right to the top of the hour. We got some great guests coming up. We got Congressman Tom Suozzi. We got Michael Steele. Third hour, I pre-taped a great interview with an author about voting, about enfranchising people, about making it easier to register to vote, how to make it easier to people to vote. 866-997-4748. Give me a call. I'll be right back. Look, it's time the media start calling out Trump's false statements for what they are. Lies. Trump is a liar. And by the looks